Bad Boys Ride or Die is directed by Adil Bilal and stars Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. This time around, Mike and Lowry are having the time of their lives, with Mike now being a married man. But once their captain had been framed for being a part of the cartel and a bunch of druggies, they had to go out and clear their captain's name, all while being fugitives of the law. Now, I really enjoyed the Bad Boys films. I really liked the first one by Michael Bay. I think it was a lot of fun, a nice 90s action film with all the 90s elements you want out of such a movie, and the explosions, the chemistry between Will Smith and Martin Lawrence is just electric there, and it laid the groundwork for what this franchise would go for in later installments, mainly in Bad Boys 2, where it's even more over the top. The colors and saturation are contrasted and they pop out so much that it looks so glossy, like it looks very clean, but has a bit of a rough edge to it too. And I think I appeal to that film a little bit more since it's a lot more bombastic and crazy. And Bad Boys for Life by Adil Bilal, who are the new upcoming directors who directed the canceled Batgirl film, and they did a really good job with Bad Boys for Life. I thought it was the most consistent in terms of its story out of all the three films. It had the most engaging character elements. The action, while in my opinion not as great as the action from the first two films, is still really fun and they pack a punch. Just the overall story and characters, I think were done so much better in that third film that I understand why critics and some audience members make that as their favorite of the franchise. And to me, I agree with that statement. I think it's still the best, even after watching this new film, which in my opinion is really fun. It has great action, it has good character elements, it has everything you want from a Bad Boys film. The humor is still pretty good for the most part. I don't think it's as funny as previous installments, mainly due to it going a bit too silly and childish at times. There's still plenty of times where it got a good laugh out of me and got me and my friend really gut-busting laughing, but in my opinion, I think I just found the other films a little bit funnier. And it just felt a little bit too silly in terms of the believability of the action sequences and what our characters are put through throughout the entire course of the film. While it is not like Fast and Furious levels of crazy action, it's starting to get there where believability seems to be just thrown out the window, and at times, mainly in the middle half of the film, I found it to be very too Hollywoodized, if you know what I'm saying. It just felt way too unbelievable in terms of the action, and it's not until it gets to the final battle sequence at the end of the film where I felt like the action really was able to find its footing once again. Overall, the film also kind of had a bit of a slow start, and that is mainly due to the villains. They are the most generic, underdeveloped villains I've seen in a Bad Boys film in quite a while. And while some of the other villains, while not being the most developed apart from Will Smith's wife and son in the third film, the other villains in the previous two installments before then were just, they were there, they served their purpose, they had a bit of a personality, especially the one in the second film. But here, this villain doesn't really have much personality. He's just a standard bad guy who's out to do bad guy things, who's after the heroes because he was wrong back then. I don't know, they just didn't really do much with him, and whenever we cut back to him, he serves the plot, but I was never engaged. I was just waiting for the part where the bad boys are just going to fight him head on and they're going to beat him, really. And I just really didn't care for what this villain had to go off of. Just, he was very forgettable and he dragged down the pacing of the story quite a bit. I know I'm sounding a bit negative, but I want to make sure I get my points across here because the movie is overall a lot of fun still. It has all the elements you want from a Bad Boys film. I just think that it just felt like a Bad Boys film just in general, like a standard Bad Boys film with the characters doing their thing. I gotta say, Reggie. I'm not gonna spoil it, but Reggie. He is the best character in this entire film. If I were to do a spoiler-free review, it will just only be about Reggie. That's how good he was with the little screen time he had in this movie. Okay, Reggie aside, how is Will Smith and Martin Lawrence's chemistry here? It still works. It is still electrifying. They work well together. Their humor is great. While Martin Lawrence is a bit too silly at times with his humor, Will Smith is still a good counterbalance with him being the more serious one and he's the more silly one. But still, in the action sequences, these two, despite their age, still work very well together, and they were just so awesome whenever they get into a fight. The choreography is not as extravagant in terms of like the ground level gunfighting battles like we've seen in Bad Boys 3 or the previous films, but there's a lot of cool camera angles and cinematography decisions that make these fight sequences still feel memorable and engaging to watch. Because there's, at some point in the final battle, this POV shot that they do with the camera that's like the POV of a gun, and they did so many cool stuff with that type of action filmography that really got me engaged with the action. And like always, it is bloody and brutal like you want from an R-rated Bad Boys film. It doesn't feel neutered down in that regard, and as I said, the humor still worked very well. I also like how we explore more of the relationship between Mike and his son, as these two are definitely polar opposites in terms of the way they were both raised and how they lived their lives. So seeing them having to reconcile with their past and reconcile with each other is great to see. And it also connects to another character that is connected to the captain, and I really like what they did with that. It was a generic admittedly, but I think it worked overall very well, developing Mike's son further as an individual character that we can latch onto. Overall, this is a fun Bad Boys film. It's not an all-time best for me. I think it is somewhere in the middle. I don't know if it's like above 2 or below 2. It's either between that. It's somewhere above 2 or below. I think I like it just about as much right now. But overall, this is a fun Bad Boys film in a franchise where I liked every entry. So I may be a bit biased here. So if you don't like the Bad Boys films, I don't see yourself being all that enamored going to see this one, as it's just whatever a Bad Boys film is supposed to be. And if you don't like that, I don't recommend it. But if you're a big fan of the Bad Boys films and you want to see another adventure with Mike and Lowry, I do recommend you guys go see this one, as it has everything you want from Bad Boys film. And while it does have some problems and it is not the best in the franchise in my opinion, it is still an overall very fun action film. I'm going to give Bad Boys Ride or Die a B. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys next time.